Maybe I should announce it. Should I?
I'm Aaron.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm John.
On this episode of Battlecriesandchampagne, album artwork and music video.
Let's get this show on the road. Let's get atomic vibe.
Hello, all the heathens out there.
Okay, well, how are we starting this off here?
This is the visual episode of Heathen.
The visual episode that remains audio only for our listeners. But we're going to be talking visuals.
Absolutely. We'll guide you through a visual journey verbally.
And I think we'll have some links in the notes, right? If you want to look at what it is that we're actually yakking about, or you can just trust our descriptions. That's fine too.
Yeah, and for the music videos themselves, as always, we have a playlist to follow along with on the YouTube channel. So go find it there if you want to check out the music videos, and it also includes the audio tracks from the album.
That's correct.
Guys, to start off this episode, as per usual, I would love to hear what you've been listening to.
Actually, I've been listening to a lot of chansons lately, so French,
oh, really?
Kind of French crooners, I guess, if that's the right term to describe them. So, and the reason for that is I was just, as we near the end of the season, going back through my notes, looking at some of our earlier stuff, and we talked about Jacques Brel in, I think it was the YBA Ziggy episode, and so I was playing some of his stuff, and then that led me back to Charles Aznavour, who's an old favorite, and a little bit of Edith Piaf as well. That's been featuring prominently in my Spotify these last few weeks. It's been fun to rediscover. I listened to a lot of that stuff, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or whatever.
On the beach in Mexico?
No, it's not the most beachy music, but around the house the last few days. But it's been fun to rediscover some of that stuff.
Yeah, it's fun when you kind of dig into a genre like that and you can kind of explore a bit more. Aaron, what are you listening to?
This time I've been listening to some country.
Whoa!
Oh, really?
All right.
Yeah, so two new country albums were just released that I've been listening to. The first one is by a Canadian artist named Tennille Towns. Actually, I think she hails from your current province there.
That name sounds familiar. I might have heard her on CKUA.
Her new album, The Acrobat, was released just last week. And as always, very good lyrics. She's a great singer as well. The one kind of critique I would have is I think she recently has just kind of gone independent. And so I think she's like self-financing. And so the instrumentation is very, very sparse in the album. It's mostly just guitar. There's like one song that has a banjo on it as well. The rest is all just vocals and guitar. So after a few songs, it does kind of start blending all in together. But maybe if I spend more time with it, it'll be good. The other album I've been listening to is Ella Langley's album Dandelion, also just released. This is, she's an American country artist, so she's got a little bit bigger of a budget to play with, and the production on the album is just fantastic. Really great wall of sound production. Now on this album the lyrics aren't quite as great. You have a lot of rhyming drinking with thinking.
Oh,
but,
sure.
Yeah, it's a classic.
But sonically it's a very good album. What about you, John?
I am listening to a couple things right now. For one, kind of telltale of when we're recording this, my partner and I have been watching the Coachella live streams. So we caught some artists on there, such as Duke Dumont, Wet Leg, Interpol, The Strokes, and even a little bit of Jay Beebs. Caught a little bit of his set too, which literally involved him walking around a big pillow-shaped thing on a stage with a mic and then just pressing kind of play on tracks on a laptop.
So it's a very high
which,
effort.
it was a fine performance. It was just, it was. And as my partner pointed out, it was kind of cute where he sung over one of his old tracks and harmonized with his younger self when he was
cool.
14, 15 or whatever. And that was kind of neat. Overall, Coachella live streams are always great. It feels like you can bring a concert home, and these are artists that are sometimes very difficult to see especially us living in our smaller Canadian cities. We might not get the opportunity. So it was pretty cool seeing all that. And I guess the other thing is that Metric, one of my personal favorite bands, is going to be releasing an album late in April, and they've released a couple singles, and they're absolutely fantastic. So it's great to see a band that I personally really love that hasn't fallen off at all. And I guess you could say the same about like David Bowie and his catalog, how he just kept on producing super creative, like innovative sounds. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
I hope that you agree with that assessment once we have explored the full catalog. But
I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
I'm going to hold you to it.
I know we're getting some of the hits or the most notable stuff in this first season, but I mean, I always appreciate an artist who's not afraid to kind of push creative ideas and boundaries, whether or not they might be critically received super well. So yeah, I guess we'll see in the coming seasons, but I'm excited to talk about Heathen and the visuals of this album. So what do you got for us, Aaron?
Your record sleeves are better than your songs.
I think the most interesting album artwork that we've seen to date. You know, this obviously Heathen was released in 2002, so we're in, you know, can I call it peak CD era?
I think you can, yeah. I think that's probably right before the advent of Napster and that kind of stuff, right? So, yeah, right before the CDs started to fall off.
Yeah, and, you know, I know that a lot of folks will bemoan, you know, CD artwork versus album or, like, you know, vinyl artwork because vinyl it's nice and big, right? It's easy to see. You can hold it up and whatever. It's especially as you get older and you know your eyes start to fail you. It's still easy to see and read the stuff. Whereas CD booklets can be quite small, but there's so much more that you can pack into a CD booklet without compensating for that in the value of the record. So I really think, like, again, the CD booklet has got a lot more interesting things than any of the albums that we've discussed so far.
Cool. I'm
really excited to get into it. But first, let's just talk about some of the story behind it. So the album photography was taken by Marcus Klinko, who is mainly a photographer who worked with fashion models, and he took the photos for David Bowie's wife, Iman's autobiography memoir that she released in just around the same time that Bowie was working on the Heathen project.
So was that how they got connected?
Yeah, he was very impressed with the photos that he'd been taking for Iman's the cover of her book. And so Bowie was like, this is the guy I'm going to work with on Heathen. They get together. Bowie kind of already has some ideas of how he wants the project to look. He specifically said he was kind of visualizing being dressed in a suit from the 1940s and portraying the character of a blind man, which is interesting because if you guys know anything about Black Star in the music videos, right, he returns to this idea of the blind man, the button eyes character later on. So this does seem to be kind of a preoccupation of his from about this point. And I mean, obviously he's always talked a lot about eyes and stuff since the beginning of his career. It comes up in a lot of lyrics, so there is definitely something to that. So they take the pictures in October, November 2001, and then the rest of the design work is done by Jonathan Barnbrook, who would continue on with Bowie up until Black Star. And this begins Barnbrook and Bowie's obsession with making artwork that is challenging and sometimes quite difficult to read, which was initially not taken well by Marcus Klinko. He wasn't necessarily a fan of the kind of retouching that Barnbrook did to his photos, but eventually came around to it. I will also note for those font fans out there that the font on the album Heathen is Priori Sans, or Sans, I guess.
I've never been clear on how you're supposed to pronounce that.
Let us know. I know someone out there is a fan of Justin Bieber, Charles Lavour, and fonts. So I know you're gonna just gonna love what we've said so far.
This is the podcast for you if you're out there.
Yeah,
yeah, it's like 1 point font, right? I mean, I did find that frustrating too.
Okay, well, I guess let's go through the book.
We'll get into it.
So Let's start off with just the album, like the cover image, which I think is a fantastic photo, super evocative. Or like when I hear Sunday, this is the image that comes. Like I just feel like just the colors, like it just fits the Sunday feel, you know?
I agree. Oh yeah, it's a very surreal looking photo, with the slight shade on Bowie's right side that kind of makes him pop out of the image a little bit in a very subtle way. The font you mentioned, which to me looks like Cyrillic font, like Russian font, maybe seems like a little foreign, pagan, heathen, So not that Russians are exactly that, but, it is foreign to the American and Western audience in some manner, but still legible as an English word if you turn your head upside down.
Yeah, there was apparently some concern for Columbia, who was distributing the record, that because the album title is upside down and Bowie's name is not on the album, that they were worried that in CD shops or record shops that they would put the album with the title facing up, which means that like you wouldn't be able to see,
you wouldn't see his face,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
wouldn't know who this album was by. Yeah.
It's funny. To me, I look at this and it seems clear to me that I would put it with Bowie orientated upright, so the text being upside down, but I don't know. Maybe that's me just always witnessing it that way, or maybe it is just cleverly designed to be just so that you feel that way about it.
Yeah, well, I've got the book in front of me here, and I just turned it over, and I agree, it looks, even though the font is now the right way up, like the fact that his head is upside down makes it look very backwards, but it could just be that, like you said, we're accustomed to looking at it that way, so...
Well, you know what? And I want to say, like, the lighting is coming from above.
Yeah, that's
Bowie,
true as well.
and he's looking up. So there's a lot of indicators to say this is up.
Okay, so then if we open up the booklet, the next page is the lyrics, which I would definitely recommend no one trying to read it. I did have to try to consult these for a couple of the songs that we discussed in the previous episodes, and yeah, you're going to hypnotize yourself if you really try to follow this.
If I go cross-eyed and try to read this, does it work better?
Yeah.
Like, are they just trying to troll their audience here? Like, come on, give me the lyrics in a way that I can read. Like, this is just... Yeah, you're going to get sick trying to figure this out here. And
There were fans who opened this and agonized over reading all the lyrics and just, like, spinning it around on the table as they're reading through it.
Then the next image is Bowie, obviously, with a cigarette in his hand. And there's some kind of defacing going on. There's some, like, kind of scratch marks.
With, like, a cross. Oh, he's holding a cross.
Yeah, well, he's heathen, right? So he's kind of like, I mean, that's obviously a theme throughout the whole booklet. Keeps coming back, but the defacing of religious imagery. I mean, I could see this hanging in a modern art gallery somewhere.
Obviously, there's a theme of, like, defacing art or, like, things being covered up. Feels like there's a theme of, I don't know if this is the proper term, but, like, sacrilegious kind of use of imagery, like it's the imagery is being disrespected or whatever.
The next image, I guess this looks like kind of a Renaissance era painting.
It looks like, well, plump babies or, cherubs perhaps, although they don't all have wings. One of them at the back looks like it might have wings. It's hard to tell.
And apparently AI is not able to figure out what this is.
No, I mean, I'm getting a lot of, like, Picasso, Botticelli, but I'm not finding this, other than it did come up with, like, the imagery from Heathen.
Yeah.
But according to Google Lens, it seems like this is something they just created for the album, but could be wrong.
I guess that's true. Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah.
Then the next image is, we have lyrics to 515, The Angels Have Gone, with, it looks like Bowie writing on a notepad there.
It looks like a pretty heavy-duty book. I was wondering actually whether it was the Bible, but there's no text visible on it, so I don't know. But that would fit with the kind of religious imagery in this booklet.
Cool. Then the next image.
So this is Caravaggio. It's the seven works of mercy in traditional Catholic teaching. So worth looking up the larger painting. There's quite a lot going on, but it looks like they've kind of not just thrown paint at it, they've maybe moved some of the aspects around, and I'm not seeing so many daggers and hair pulling and stuff like that. So yeah, this is heavily modified form of that painting, but that's interesting.
Yeah, and Andrew just ordered a print of it on Etsy. So
I don't know what my wife is going to say about that, but we'll find out.
the final image inside the booklet has some important works from the 19th and early 20th centuries in, I guess, Western thought. We have The General Theory on Relativity, Albert Einstein, The Interpretation of Dreams, Sigmund Freud, might have heard of him, and The Gay Science by Friedrich Nietzsche.
Those are three really interesting choices. I wonder if that tells you anything about his mindset as he's making this album.
Well, I think they're all challenging, like they cover challenging concepts to a traditional religious view of the world. You know, they challenge the idea of a deity or a greater being, and how humans' interpretation of that maybe can be summed up in some form of science.
Yeah, that's true. They're all pretty revolutionary books probably in their day. So that's a good point. And I have to agree, like, this is a lot more, there's a lot more going on here than there was with kind of some of the album covers, to be honest, that we talked about earlier in this season. So
yeah, I do feel like this season we've been covering kind of the big albums in Bowie's career that drew him in a new audience, and I must say, thinking about it now, they are the albums that kind of have some of the least interesting artwork. Like Young Americans is pretty simple. Let's Dance is pretty simple.
Yeah, that's where my mind went with the contrast.
Even in The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust is just like him standing in a street. There's not really that much, but like this has a story to it. Like there's really something to analyze, and a lot of Bowie artwork is interesting. But yeah, this is, I think, where it starts to get good.
Yeah, clearly there was a lot of creative thought put into this, and a serious tone taken to what they wanted to accomplish with the imagery, as opposed to maybe a more nonchalant, more generally pop culture approachable tone with something like Young Americans. I'm seeing two common themes throughout this: is lots of play with like lighting and shadows, and then also a lot of play with redactions and defacing of sorts. Yeah, all very evocative.
Let's have a quick look through some of the single artwork that's associated with the album. Let's start with the Slow Burn single. So again, we have that kind of same color scheme going on. We have the upside down text, and we have Bowie in a leather raincoat, perhaps?
Yeah, trench coat, I guess.
Yeah, I would say so, with some militaristic looking boots kind of marching towards the camera.
He's carrying a baby, which is maybe naked, or maybe wearing like a small diaper that's hidden behind his arm there. But
or is it what do you say, a shrub? A shrub?
Oh, cherub. Yeah, but I think those typically are like angelic and they have wings.
I'd never heard that term before, but I guess it makes sense that they're not literally called angel babies, because that would be weird. I don't know. So there's not a lot of discussion of babies in Slow Burn, or that I recall from the. I'm not going to read that tiny little spiral thing with the lyrics, but I don't remember that being like figuring very prominently in the song. So
I don't know quite what to make of this one. It's interesting. It's, again, thought-provoking.
And then the Everyone Says Hi album artwork, a lot less interesting. This is, just a close-up of Bowie's eye from the Heathen artwork.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And then we have the I've Been Waiting for You artwork that was, again, this was a single only released in Canada, and this is just...
Oh, that's not very good.
No, yeah, you get to see Bowie's...
It's like his nose and his stubble.
Yeah.
Why? This is an outlier it's not very thought-provoking or surreal or anything.
But yeah, and I feel like the most disappointing thing is you couldn't even... Well, you couldn't put one on top of the other, right? Like, Everyone Says Hi, and then I've Been Waiting for You underneath. Would that line up? I don't think it would. I feel like we'd still be missing part of the nose here.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think they quite line up.
So that's disappointing. At least if you're going to do half of the face on each, make it line up so that you want to collect them all.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's just have a quick look through some of the other photos that Marcus Klinko took of Bowie during these sessions for Heathen, and we'll just comment on the ones that we think are interesting.
A lot of these, he looks very kind of pensive, I would say.
Kind of worried, yeah.
Yeah, almost
I
worried.
guess it kind of plays off the themes of like anxiety on the album, anxiety about existence and the future and meaning of life and stuff like that, you know, plays off an anxious kind of feeling.
So certainly anxiety and thoughtfulness and worrying about the future are things that I would associate with Bowie throughout his career. But here there's maybe a bit less, a little less headstrong and maybe a little more reserved looking. So that's interesting. That's a bit of a new side from him compared to like the 1970s stuff.
Definitely, yeah.
You know, through all of these images, I see a feeling of like seriousness and maturity as compared to maybe some of the previous albums.
Yeah, personally, these are, I would say, one of my favorite Bowie photo shoots. I really like the images that Klinko was able to get of Bowie. Some strong compositions here.
Yeah, I gotta get me a tweed suit is what I'm seeing in these photos. Damn, that looks good.
It does.
Okay, shall we move on to the music videos?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Video time. Video time. Chop it up.
Okay, so the first music video is a slow burn music video. It was directed by Gary Kopke, and it was filmed at Looking Glass. Now, this was kind of the era where, you know, obviously YouTube hadn't been invented yet. MTV was still, you know, a dominant force when it came to music videos, and it was really only showcasing new or younger artists, right? So Bowie knew that there was really no chance, and it wasn't really worth getting too heavily invested in promoting Heathen with music videos. So the video was originally cut down to use just as a kind of a TV ad, but in 2016, following Bowie's death, the full video was released, and that's what we have in our playlist.
Oh, so like they created the full video at the time, but they released a cut down version.
Exactly, yeah. So obviously there is a girl in the music video who's slightly older than Bowie's daughter at the time, and the girl
okay,
is...
so that's not Bowie's daughter.
No, but it definitely, I feel like, is made to represent his daughter. But anyway, the actor here is Haley Nicholas. And Bowie actually brought his own daughter to the set, and Tony Visconti was babysitting her while Bowie was busy filming. So that's kind of a cool little fact.
Yeah, he's just recorded singing very passionately and kind of performing. Doesn't have a microphone directly in front of him, but is behind some glass in seemingly a recording booth. And also, do you guys notice that his hair flicks a little bit? So they must have had a fan going in there.
Yeah, actually, the Heathen era for sure played a lot with the fan. Like, if you watch any live performance from this era, he's always got that fan going on. I don't know what it was about the fan at this point in his career, but that was probably
he just likes to be cool.
Yeah.
You know? Who's the astronaut? Is the wondering whether it was Major Tom, maybe?
It could be. I mean, like, there are some authors who say that this is kind of a precursor to the Black Star video, where again Major Tom spacesuit reappears. So maybe that's again kind of another connection to that.
Well, it's interesting how there's some parallels there, because we were discussing how this might be, like, if this happened to be his last album that he put out before he passed, how it would seem fitting. And maybe he was kind of visiting those things of, like, looking back on his career with this. So I think we see that kind of happening.
It almost does feel, in some ways, like a farewell album, right? So it's possible that's what he was doing. Or maybe he just liked the image and it's not deliberately intended to be Major Tom.
I kind of love this haircut on him. Gotta say, this is one of my favorite haircuts I've seen him, especially one standing in front of a fan.
Yeah, exactly. Got to be in front of that fan to really sell the haircut. I think this overall the music video is fairly static. There's not a whole lot going on in it, but Bowie does his best to sell the performance. He does a little bit of mime work. His hand gestures are interesting at times. And I do like the idea, just knowing where Bowie was in his personal life at this time, that the whole music video kind of plays with the idea of being trapped in the studio, and at this point he's trying to balance being a father and being a recording artist. So that's kind of a cool thing going on there, a kind of commentary on where he's at.
Should we move on to the Everyone Says Hi video? I think you guys already probably have an idea of how I feel about this one. It's a concert video, folks. It's a video of him performing in concert. And I'm generally not a fan of these. Not that they aren't worth putting up, but they don't bring anything too interesting to it. Although I think it's a little cheeky how he like waves at the audience when he says everybody says hi.
Yeah, he clearly was having fun for this performance, but yeah, I think we've discussed these types of videos a few times in this season, and I've kind of pointed out, like, yeah, I don't feel that they're that interesting, so I guess I'll pretty much leave it there, unless Aaron's going to come in and now tell us why this is like some extraordinary, groundbreaking piece of art, but...
No, I don't have that much to say about it. I can say that it was filmed in Cologne during a Heathen concert. Yeah, personally, I'm not a huge fan of this. I can get into Bowie concert videos, but this one is not one of those. I feel, first of all, there's a lot of scenes of like the crowd jumping up and down, and like that can't be for this song. Like it's not. That doesn't have that beat. Like it's not a song you're gonna jump to. And John pointed out that Bowie waves at the crowd. I feel that's a little too cheesy. Again, this song is supposed to be emotional. Okay, it's supposed to be heart wrenching, and like you're just making a little cheeseball performance out of it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I gotta say, I find this song a little on the cheesy side. Although I do like it. I know it's supposed to be heartfelt, so maybe it's fitting in some regard. That being said, I think if the last one didn't make MTV, this one certainly would not.
Yes, and this was actually only released last year in 2025 for the release of the I Can't Give Everything Away box set, which regroups the Heathen period to Black Stars. So
and we should mention that both these music videos are in black and white. So going along with the theme of the album.
The final thing I'll say about the Everyone Says Hi video is, if you happen to want to watch some concert videos of Bowie performing during this time, if you watch any performance he does of the song Heathen, the Raise itself, there is just so much emotion packed into those performances. That should have been the video, not Everyone Says Hi, where again he's just making a mockery out of the song.
I agree. There is a good performance on a late night show of The Rays. So that exists. Not a music video, but you can go see him perform that one live if you want to. It is on YouTube.
All right, on that note, that's everything we have for...
Oh, what are we good? I thought we were going to give some album thoughts.
You're right. Sorry. I knew I was forgetting
listeners don't care about that.
So eager to move on. I'd love to hear what you guys thought about it. Andrew, what were your thoughts here?
I mean, I really enjoyed this album. It's for sure one of my favorites. It feels in a lot of ways like he's going a little bit back to this sort of perhaps early 70s era or whatever, where he was really at his peak, and he is almost doing a bit of a reset on his career, where maybe we're gonna forget about the 90s stuff, or like, I mean, I like 80s Bowie. I know a lot of people who are true fans kind of find it a bit, I don't know, cheeseball, I think was the word that was used earlier. But he's almost taking a reset and saying, like, I'm going to make music that's fun but serious again. And it's really cool to see him do that, later in his career, when a lot of artists are not producing their best work. I enjoyed making this episode. I enjoyed the listening for it, and I hope you folks do too. It's for sure up in, top 5 probably Bowie albums for me. So...
All right, everybody, thanks for listening, and that concludes it.
No, wait.
You guys might have a few thoughts too, no?
Yeah. I would agree. I think it's definitely not cheeseball. It's kind of maybe trying to start with more of a fresh idea. He's reinventing his sound and playing with some really meaningful ideas to him, and not following maybe pop sounds like we saw in Young Americans and perhaps Let's Dance, which are wonderful albums in their own right, but very different in their feel. To me, this album felt like equal parts frantic and passive melancholy. It kind of finds a space and a balance between the kind of grungy, more depressive themes in 90s music and the more optimistic and electronic sounds of the mid-2000s. I really enjoyed that because I'm a huge fan of both those eras. And then there was one other thing that I kind of noted about this. This album, on its final form, has 3 covers. I don't think there were any other albums we've discussed this season that had this many covers.
Let's Dance had just 2, right?
I think just 2.
I think so.
If I'm remembering that correctly.
And that's not... So I'm not saying this to take away from the album. I think he did all those covers justice and brought a whole new feeling and energy to them. How do you guys feel about that? Do you feel like he was just trying to do, honor the original artists and being a fan of their music, or was and I'm going to be blunt with this, was he being lazy?
Good question. I don't know if lazy is the right word. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe we'll talk in the next episode about like what else could have been on this album. I think it could have been better. Maybe I Took a Trip on a Gemini Spaceship could have come off and been replaced with something else. But,
Okay, I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to hear the thoughts of like musicians on that. I mean, I think making a good cover that's faithful to the original but also
Bring something new
is
to
your
it.
own. Yeah, like that probably is a challenge too, but in a different way.
Yeah, no, I feel like he agonized over making each of these covers. So I wouldn't say it was the easy way out. It was just an idea that crossed my mind because someone might think that.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he chose to record so many covers for this album, but I think they all fit. Other than I Took a Trip on a Gemini Spaceship, which I do like as a song, but definitely like it is the one song that makes the album lose its coherency, because I feel like of all Bowie's albums, this is one of the most coherent thematically, sonically.
Yeah,
but I Took a Trip on a Gemini Spaceship does lyrically push us away from that.
Okay, everybody, and that's all we have to say about that. No, Aaron, what else do you have to say about this album? Like, I'd love to know.
Well, I could blather on forever about this, but it does have a very strong personal connection for me. I think it helped me kind of figure out my own views on spirituality and just help me think through that.
Oh, cool.
It's an album that I think works just as well in the deep of winter as like in the heat of summer.
Yeah.
It really just is. Yeah, it can work in multiple contexts. The melodies are beautiful, great instrumentation, and as we talked about in this episode specifically, the album artwork is telling its own story. So there's just so much thought put into it that I can't say a negative thing about it. Are we okay to wrap it up now?
Yeah, I think we are.
I think it's allowed.
I think we hit it. All right, are we sure? Yes. And so next episode we'll be talking about the YBA You've Been Around, which will include remixes, alternate versions, radio edits, and the like. So please join us for that. It's going to be an interesting dive into, as Bowie being a big artist, what many other artists did with this music, or the production team he had kind of brought to different ways this album could have gone, and a couple cuts from the album. So that'll be interesting to explore as well.
Yeah, it sounds like Andrew's going to propose an alternate track listing of Heathen too, so stick around for that. That's going to be good.
Now I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
See you next time, folks. And until then, don't forget
to keep your hat warm.
Please come away. Please come away. 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 Hey.
yummy.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yummy.